So now we will be talking about counter APIs. So counter APIs we are using to suppose like in the database we want a column to be created for a counter. So init is for initializing a counter. Just hold on. So init is for initializing a counter, get is for getting the value of the counter, and increment is for increasing the counter value by any number. So let's see initialization first. Suppose if we have a database, in that either we can make the any current column which already exists as the counter column and have a counter variable there, or we can create a new column there for the counter. So here I'm just showing you my database. So let's see. So here I'm using EMPDB and test2. So here I already have created a counter column, and I've initialized the first record, that is record number 4, with a counter of value 4. So the request would be like something like this is the record number and counter and the value, right? I'll just replace it with 6 so you can see the changes coming into place. I've sent the request. This is my token ID. This is the command, the database name, the relation name, and record number, the column name for the which in which we are using the counter, and the value by which we are initializing the counter, right? So let me just show you this here. So now the counter has become 6. We can even create a new column if you want. So that's not an issue here. So now let's try to get this counter value. I'll just do this the same thing for record number 5 also. And we have value suppose 10 and the request. And that's also success, right? Now next we have get. So for get command, so the syntax looks like this. We are having the connection token, DB name, relation name, record number, column name, and value. So this INC value, that is the increment value, is optional. So what we want is like suppose if we are trying to retrieve a value of a counter, but we also want to increment it. So this will apply an post increment. That is, after the request is run, the counter will get incremented by the value which you have set, right? So, and if we don't set anything, like it's an optional value, inc value. So if we decide to not give, if we decide to omit it, the counter will not get incremented. It will remain the same. So let's try this. So we are using get, record number is 4, counter, and increment value is suppose say 1. Rather, let's omit it for the first time, right? So it will tell me that the counter on the record number 4 is having value 6, right? And nothing else. And there will be no change in the counter value. So let me just refresh it. So here you can see 6, 10 I initialized beforehand, and there's no change. But now let's try to make that change happen. So just hold on. So now I'm trying to, what happened now? Now I'm trying to increment the counter value by suppose say 3. So I'll just send this request, and it says the counter value is still being reported as 6 because as I told you, it's a post increment. So after the request has been run, now the counter would be changed. So just refresh it, and as you can see, from 6 we have added 3 to it, and it has become 9. So it takes a post increment application. The next API we have is increment. This will also return the value of the counter, like which we were getting from get, but this will implement the pre-increment approach. So before returning the value, it will increment the value and then return the value. Here also the increment value is optional, but this time around it will take a default value as 1. So if we choose to omit the value, it will always increment the counter by 1. So I'll just show this to you. We are using the command increment session token, not session token, my connection token, command name, db name, relation. So we are using record number, say 5 this time. Counter name is, column name is counter, and I don't want to increment. I'm not giving any specific value for incrementing. Send, and it will say counter is 11. As we know that the counter was 10. Right now I've not refreshed the database, so that's why it's reflecting 10. And when we are observing the return response, it's showing us 11 because this is following a pre-increment approach. So if I refresh this now, it will be showing us 11 in the database also. So as I told you, if we try to omit the optional variable, it will give us the, it will increment it by 1. And now if we try to increment by the, we try to increment it by some other value which we want to, like suppose 6. So 11 plus 6 is 17, so it will return 17 to us. There you go, following the pre-increment approach. So let me just refresh it, and you can see the change made in the database also. So as you can see, it has been made 17 for record number 5. So we can use these counter APIs like whenever we are trying to um, uh, count how many requests are being sent for a particular record or something like that. It's up to the user how he wants to use the APIs.
Uh, Apart from that, suppose uh, an organization, a software company, basically developing some application, few applications, but they want a same user. If like register with application one should be able to use other applications also. So they want a sort of increment in their user ID constantly across the application. What happens? Every application will have a different database, so they can use our API to get the user ID. This increment counter is also unique, so they will give them this will give them unique ID plus in some sequence, in some predefined you can say increment. So user ID 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So suppose a user is registered as user ID 5. So that particular user will be able to use say all the applications that are connected together. And every application might be having different database. So if this is the scenario, they might need to develop this sort of counter to get the user ID. So they need not to do that coding. They can use our serverless API. So there can be other usage also depending on once a developer knows this feature is available, they can definitely like think of how this can be used.
Yes, sir. So that would be it for the counter APIs. Is there any question?
No, John.
Okay. Anything from your side, Diksha?
No.
Okay. Sir, then anything from your side?
No, I think this is good session. So yeah.
Okay, sir.